The breakup. Nobody saw coming. For nearly 2 decades, they represented something rare in the world of celebrity relationships. No public scandals, no messy interviews, no dramatic social media wars. Just two successful actors building a life together quietly, away from constant spotlight chaos. So when news broke that Marion Cotillard and Guillaume Canet had separated after around 18 years together, it didn't just surprise fans, it genuinely confused them. Because in an industry where relationships often collapse in months, theirs looked like one of the few that had actually survived the pressure. The official announcement was simple, respectful, mutual. No accusations, no drama. And that made one question even louder. How does a relationship that lasts almost 2 decades suddenly come to an end? The answer is more human and more ordinary than most people expect. A love story built away from the spotlight. Marion Cotillard and Guillaume Canet didn't build their relationship like a typical Hollywood couple. They weren't chasing publicity. They weren't selling a perfect couple image online. They weren't constantly feeding the media cycle. Instead, they kept things private. The two first met years before their relationship began through the French film industry. They worked together professionally and moved in the same creative circles. But their romantic relationship began around 2007. At that time, both were already established in their careers in French cinema. Marion Cotillard was rising internationally, especially after her award-winning performance in La Vie en Rose, which later won her an Academy Award. Guillaume Canet was also building a strong reputation as both an actor and director. So when they came together, it wasn't a manufactured celebrity pairing. It was two working actors choosing a life outside constant publicity. That privacy became their identity. And for years, it worked. Why everyone thought they would last forever. One of the biggest reasons people are shocked by this breakup is simple. They looked stable. Not Instagram perfect, not overly curated, just stable in a quiet, realistic way. They attended events together when needed. They supported each other's careers. They raised a family together and mostly stayed out of controversy. They also shared 2 children, which made their relationship feel even more grounded and long-term. Unlike many celebrity couples, there were no frequent breakup rumors or public fights dominating headlines. Occasionally, tabloids tried to create speculation, as happens with any high-profile actress, but nothing ever developed into a confirmed issue. Instead, the couple consistently maintained a calm public image. That's why fans assumed something like this would never happen. But long-term relationships don't usually end because of one dramatic moment. They end quietly, over time. The reality of long-term relationships in high-pressure careers. When people hear 18 years together, they often assume permanence. But psychologists who study long relationships point out something important. Time doesn't guarantee stability. It just increases complexity. Over nearly 2 decades, people change. Personal goals evolve, careers shift direction, priorities get redefined, emotional needs change, life rhythms no longer match perfectly. Now add something more intense. 2 demanding acting careers. Marion Cotillard's career expanded internationally, including Hollywood productions and global press cycles. Guillaume Canet continued directing and acting in projects that often required long production schedules. That means time spent apart on film sets, different countries and travel schedules, months of separation due to work, limited normal routine as a couple. Even strong relationships can struggle under that kind of long-term pressure. And unlike normal couples, celebrity couples don't get off time in the same way. Their work is public, demanding, and constant. Why the announcement was so quiet. When the separation was confirmed, there was no explosive statement. No blame, no accusations, no detailed explanation. Just a joint message confirming they had decided to separate after 18 years together and asking for privacy, especially regarding their children. That kind of announcement tells you something important. This was not a public conflict. It was a private decision. In modern celebrity culture, that is actually unusual. Most breakups turn into media battles with leaks, narratives, and competing versions of events. Here, there was none of that. And that silence is exactly what makes fans curious. Because when nothing is said, people try to fill the gaps themselves. But in this case, there is no confirmed hidden scandal to fill those gaps with. Why people struggle with no drama. Breakups. When a long-term celebrity couple splits, audiences expect a storyline. Betrayal, cheating, conflict, controversy, some shocking reveal. But sometimes relationships end without any of that. And that is harder for people to process, because it removes the villain narrative. Instead, you are left with something more uncomfortable. Two people who simply grew apart over time. Not enemies, not dramatic opposites. Just two individuals whose lives no longer align the same way they once did. This kind of breakup is actually very common in long relationships, celebrity or not. It just feels more surprising when it happens to people who seemed stable. The pressure of public life. Even without scandal, being a public couple creates its own invisible pressure. Constant attention, constant interpretation, constant comparison. Every appearance becomes content. Every silence becomes speculation. Every difference becomes a story. For private individuals in a very public industry, that can become exhausting over time. Marion Cotillard has often been known for protecting her personal life from excessive media exposure. Guillaume Canet has also kept a relatively grounded presence compared to typical celebrity culture. But privacy in a public career is never complete. And over 18 years, that tension builds slowly, not in explosions, but in distance. Why this split feels different from other celebrity breakups. What makes this breakup stand out is not drama. It's the lack of it. There are no public fights, no accusations, no social media breakdowns. Instead, there is something rare, a long-term relationship ending with dignity. In today's entertainment world, that almost feels unusual because audiences are used to chaos. But sometimes the real story is not chaos at all. It's quiet change. And quiet change is often the hardest to notice until it's already complete. What happens next? Both Marion Cotillard and Guillaume Canet are expected to continue their careers independently. They remain respected figures in French and international cinema. Most importantly, both appear focused on maintaining stability for their children, which has been clearly emphasized in reporting around their separation. There is no indication of public conflict or ongoing dispute, which means the future will likely be private, as their relationship always was. Final thoughts. Not every ending is a scandal. In a world where celebrity breakups are often turned into entertainment drama, this one stands out because it isn't. No scandal, no shock reveal, no hidden villain, just time, change, and two people making a personal decision after nearly 2 decades together. And maybe that's the part people find hardest to accept, because it reminds us of something real. Even long, stable relationships don't end because something dramatic happens. Sometimes they end simply because life moves forward. And people move with it, even in different directions. If this story made you think differently about celebrity relationships, leave your thoughts in the comments below. Do you think long relationships can really last forever in Hollywood, or does time eventually change everything? Don't forget to like the video if you enjoyed it, subscribe for more deep dive celebrity stories, and turn on the bell icon so you never miss what's next. See you in the next one.